Hello YouTube world. So what I'm going to do today is make kind of like my intro video for my channel. I've been meaning to shoot one for a while, but I haven't had any ideas. Basically, my channel is just going to be like a bushcraft outdoors type channel. As you can tell, I'm obviously not outdoors right now, but I'm a little sick, so I just figured might as well shoot it now since it doesn't really require me to be outside. But so for my first video I figured I'd show my fire kit, and yes, I know there are hundreds upon hundreds of videos about people and their fire kits out on YouTube and on the internet, but I figured I might as well just show mine for my first video. So here we go. The the bag itself is just a condor pouch that I got off Amazon for $12. It's pretty nice. It's got this webbing. I know what it's called, but I can't really remember right now. It's got these snaps on the back. It's pretty nice. I mean, for $12, it's cheap enough. It gets the job done, So let's go ahead and dig in. It's pretty jam-packed, as you can tell. And with this, I expect to be able to make fire pretty much anywhere in all conditions, outside of maybe if I'm like underwater swimming with mermaids or something. Then I probably can't make a fire. But yeah, so let's go ahead and start. First thing I have on top are these UCO long burn matches. If you haven't seen these before, and I know I hadn't seen them until I bought them, it says they burn 1 minute. I have not timed that, so I can't say whether or not they will burn that long, but if you've seen these, they're just huge matches. Thus, I would expect this to burn longer than a regular match. Now, they're not the storm-proof matches. I do own some of those, but that's not what these are. Next, just a large pill bottle full of cotton balls and Vaseline. You guys have, I'm sure, heard of this before. If you haven't, it's a really good, cheap tinder for you that you can make at your own house. That's pretty good. So they make them burn. If you've tried cotton balls as tinder, it burns a lot longer than just plain cotton balls, so it's pretty nice. Next, I have one of these blast matches. The reason this is in here, because I do have a regular fire still. The reason this is in here is I was digging through my main pack, and I found this, and I had never really used it, and I had room left in here, so I thought, why not? Might as well throw it in here. But it does shoot pretty nice sparks. The only issue is if you've messed with one of these before, obviously you have to put them into the ground. You have to push down to get the spark. They do shoot hot sparks though, but the only disadvantage is you're kind of limited to how you can use it. Next, have a mess of jute twine, more tinder, gives cordage if necessary. So that's definitely, jute twine is something to keep around. It's obviously not as strong as like bank line or paracord, but if you did need to tie something off with it, you could use this. Plus it makes really good tinder, and you can get a lot of it for not very much money. Next, I have a tube of Carmex. How that rhymed. But this stuff's basically like Vaseline, so you can take it, and if you had just regular cotton balls or whatever, you'd shoot it into this, even just shavings of whatnot, and it'll act as a burn extender, so it'll make whatever you put it on burn longer. I have a tin, and obviously you can make char cloth out of a tin. If you don't know how, I will make a video in the future as to how to do it. Inside this tin, my flint and steel, my steel, fire steel, a couple pieces of flint, and just a charred lamp wick. Flint and steel is not something I recommend for beginning people because it is It's not hard to get sparks, but it can be challenging to get a fire going with just that. I keep this Leatherman pocket knife in here just for, it's always good to have an extra blade, and you can obviously process woods down into finer tinders and kindling to get your fire going. So it's always a good idea to have a pretty good pocket knife with your fire kit. Next, I have some of these GI trioxane bars. I haven't ever really messed with these that much, and I do have a lot. This is where you're gonna go through here and people are going to be like, what is wrong with you? Why do you have so much fire starters in here? Well, I think fire is, outside of water, probably the most important thing you can have in a survival situation. Thus, I keep a lot of fire starting material in my kit to keep on moving. I have just a Bic lighter. Everybody's seen these, and it is in this little pouch for Compella's little mini multi-tool that I had sitting around that wasn't being used. I decided that lighter fitted in there pretty good. So next is some of this Pathfinder Mini Inferno, and if you haven't seen this stuff, it comes in this little tin, and it's these like discs, these cakes of fire starter, and you don't have to use the whole thing. You can cut it down into smaller pieces and use it. They work pretty well. I have used them before. They're pretty good. More government issued stuff, and this is just because I thought it was cool and I wanted to try it, thus I throw it in here. It's kind of like utility flame, if you know what that is. What it is, it's a gel, and you cut it open and then you put it along whatever, and then you set it on fire. Now, it does not take a spark, so you do have to use a lighter or a match. I do have a few ideas that I keep meaning to test on how to get it going with the spark, though, so be on the lookout for that in the future. More tinder. This is a tinder tin that I bought for like $2 off survivalresources.com. It's pretty cool. It's just a small little tin with some of these tinder quick tabs, which aren't the best, but they do work pretty good, and I have got many fires going with these before. So for only a couple bucks and how compact it is, I definitely suggest somebody pick this up. I have stormproof matches. I don't have them in here, but I do have the striker bars I keep in my kit just because they're small, and Next, this is a stick of magnesium, and if you don't know how magnesium works, well then I don't know what to tell you. Basically what you'd do, you would take your knife and you'd go and you'd scrape off the magnesium into a pile, and then you would take your ferro rod and you would strike the pile, and it would set the pile on fire, thus allowing you to get a fire started. I have a Numith Toe Hill lighter. If you haven't seen these, they're really cool. They're peanut lighters, but they're waterproof. They're pretty good lighters. I like it. I mean, it's nice and it's waterproof, nice and small. I mean, I will just do a size comparison, because when I first saw this, I thought it was a little bigger than it is. This is a Bic lighter. This is the Toe Hill lighter. So they are fairly small, but they do work well, and obviously it's got a flat base. You could use it as a candle, light it on fire, and then set it somewhere and use it as a candle, though you shouldn't do it for very long because it'll overheat the metal and burn if you touch it, and I don't know about the rubber O-ring on it, that might melt it. 2 little strips of Esbit cubes. If you don't know what these are, I guess I'll explain it to you real fast. You can basically take them and boil water over them, and I'm sure you could probably cook over them. I haven't tried that. I have boiled water over them though, but you could use them for fire starters too, but I don't. I keep other fire starting stuff in here, thus I don't use them for that. But they are pretty nice. You see, they sell stoves out there, compact stoves for you to stick these inside, but I don't find them necessary because you can cut this, or not cut it, but you could, get your cube out. You could set it down, and then you could have 2 decent sized rocks around it, and then you could take your cup. Let's say this is the cup, and set it on the rocks over the fire, and that allows you to not have to carry a stove around, and it works just as well. So carry a live fire in here. They're pretty neat. Let's see, where did my Tinder Quick thing go? There it is. They're basically, actually, now that I look at it, they're in the exact same tins. But if you haven't seen these before, they're pretty cool. You slide it open, and it's got this weird substance, I suppose you could call it, in there. And what you would do is you would take it, and you would take your knife, or you would take the striker for your fire steel, and you would fluff it up, and then shoot a spark into it, and it would set on fire kind of like a candle. And you can start fire with it by obviously taking it, using it like a lighter, holding it underneath. You could use it as a candle. I think you can, oh yes, before I say that, you can control the flame by sliding this back or forth. Obviously, if you wanted a smaller flame, you wouldn't show a lot. If you wanted to burn the whole thing, which I don't know why you'd want to do that, you could take it off. If you move this along, it can burn for a total of 30 minutes at a time before you gotta buy a new one. They are $10 off Amazon, I believe, so I would not be burning them all at once, but they are fairly nice to use. I have used one before. Okay, we're almost through now. This is a Sparklight emergency fire starter, and another way to produce sparks, but I do carry this because obviously you have more Tinder Quick tabs that come with it. I carry this around because, if you give me a second to get it out, they're kind of pains in the butts to get out. If you were ever hurt in a situation where one arm was not, you weren't able to use, freaking A, if I do that again, I'm not going to be happy. If you were not able to use one of your arms, this would allow you to, there we go, frick, I had it. This would allow you to get sparks one-handed. Obviously you have a lighter, and those are you use for one-handed operation, but it's basically like a lighter without the fluid. You take it and you just spin the wheel and it sparks, and it comes with more Tinder Quick tabs, so it does have some tinder with it, so it's pretty nice. It wasn't very expensive. It also has an instructions book in the back. I haven't looked at it. I don't know what that's about, if it's telling you how to spin the wheel, in which case you must be about 3 to need to know how to do that, or if it's just ideas for starting a fire. Finally, carry some wet fire tabs. Okay, that's 1, it's 2, 5 of them. If you haven't seen these before, you should consider picking them up. They're pretty good little things. They burn in water, so you could like light it, and then if it was raining, or what I was getting at, you light it, you could drop it in a cup of water and it'd still burn or whatnot. I've seen that done before. But if it's raining, it allows you to get a fire going. They do burn for a considerable amount of time. So a lot of the time people talk about how these don't last how they have a shelf life, but The company says that as long as you've got this pillow in the end, which is this air, you can feel the air, they're still good. I have seen what people do though is they will take it and they'll cut it in half, or they'll scrape a pile off because they don't want to use the whole thing. Then they'll take it and they'll put it in a Ziploc bag, and it does keep pretty well. So that's an idea, but that's it. That's my fire kit, completely empty. I definitely I'm planning on making more videos. I might make one here today, just on a couple ideas. But yeah, so thanks for watching. I'll try to make another video as soon as I can. See ya. Just kidding, I didn't hit stop.